Welcome to the Winedown, an afternoon podcast where two techie blokes sit down over a bowl of wine and chat about what's happening in the world of tech. Enjoy while Scott and Nick open up about their week in technology.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the Winedown. My name's Nick, and with me I have...
Scott.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
Hello, Nick. How about that?
Yeah, you're on a different side today. What's going on?
These are some lovely vines, lovely grape vines and wine vines, actually. They're a Shiraz grape. This is actually from McGill Estate.
There we go. Yeah, but what I was pointing out was you're on the other side. That way, other side of the screen today.
Oh, well, there's that too.
But there we are. There we are. Cool. So where are we? What are we drinking?
We are in our wonderful virtual pubs again. But I've picked up this is actually quite nice. This is a bottle of Phil Sell. They're an old vine grape, and basically it's a Shiraz. It's quite nice. The 2017's just come out a little while ago, and I've decanted this for about an hour, and it's actually coming along quite nicely.
Oh, excellent. So I have a 3 steps wine. Let's see if I can get that in focus for you. There we go.
Open bottle, drink bottle, remove bottle.
Yes,
Okay.
It's from the Hunter Valley. It came in a hamper this Christmas, so I've got no idea whether it's. I've got no idea about it at all, really, Scott. But well, it smells like wine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd certainly put it on a pub wine list. It's all right, but it's certainly.
Well, it can't be any worse than what I had last week. So
no, absolutely not. So, excuse me. Today, what's the topic?
Perhaps it is. Okay. So look, in the last few days, Deloitte actually produced their technology outlook report for 2022. And I thought that's interesting. It's a global report looking across all industries and just how technologies are used, what people are doing, and sort of where they should be going. And I thought that there's some interesting points in there. Then I thought we'd just have a quick chat about that.
Cool. That sounds like a fantastic idea. So their industry outlook, it's got to be a theme. There's got to be continued focus. What are they driving at?
Yeah, so the broader message is that a lot of industries have been involved one way or another in digital transformation. And that they've just said this is an ongoing process. You don't just sort of step up one day and say, "Oh, this week we're going to do digital transformation." Then it's done. We can put a tick in that box and move on to the next topic. No, it's an ongoing process. It takes a long time. It's probably not putting it right. It's because it's ongoing. You'll be doing it for a long time, but you'll be reaping the rewards and benefits along the way of all the progress that you make.
Okay, cool. So get it. So we're going to continue focusing on digital transformation, is what they reckon.
That's the broad thing. It's just it's a thing that says, look, once you start, don't stop just because you've achieved a few goals. There's more to this, sure. And the whole thing is that you could do a bit and say, okay, we made some wins, but then competitively in the industry you're in, well, everybody else is going to keep going. Why would you stop? That's the whole thing. So look, there's 4 key areas they've sort of talked out on this. One is now that we're doing this, taking cloud and all these everything as a service type things to the next level.
Yeah, so this is interesting. I was chatting to one of our customers the other day, and he was bemoaning a vendor that came in and said, so we need to put this on an on-premise server and blah, blah, blah. And he went, huh? He went, that's what everyone's asking for. But it really isn't, right? People aren't asking to go back on premises. That would be crazy. Everything's moving towards the cloud, and where possible, software as a service, right?
Yeah, you know what? There is still a lot of on-premises infrastructure, more than I think the cloud vendors would like you to think. If you actually look at the technology budgets, and someone did this actually just recently, looking at the revenues of like AWS, of Microsoft from the cloud point, and all the big players, the Googles, the IBMs, and so forth. You look at that, then you look at the global technology spend in the industry as a whole, where it's all going. There's a lot left after you take cloud out. So people are clearly still buying servers. They're putting them in places that it's there. I don't think it's a preference. I think there's a lot of older systems and applications that need a lot of maintenance and updating. They can't just be easily moved to the cloud, and just moving them as is not really a cost-effective option. So,
Yeah, so I think the other thing is the whole, when cloud first started, everybody lifting and shifting stuff
no, it was
straight
fun.
into the cloud was fun. It made lots of people lots of money, but it certainly hasn't really cloudified those applications, right? They're the same stuff and we've got customers like that, right? So we have customers who've taken on-premises and it's now running somewhere else. But and it might be running virtually when it wasn't before, but it's still the same number of servers doing the same number of on-premise things.
But it's in cloud because it's in someone else's data center. Yeah. So what the report's saying in this is that, look, we've done all this, we've moved stuff to the cloud, we've done a whole bunch of things with X as a service, whatever X is. How do we take that to the next level? Just because we've gone to the cloud doesn't mean we've actually arrived at our destination. It's just the next step in the journey. How do we now get more improvements?
I was asked about this once, and I always thought that if I was an IT manager today, starting in a greenfield environment, first of all, I'd start in the cloud. I'd start with my core of Office 365, but wherever somebody wanted some software, I'd look for a software as a service version.
Absolutely.
So effectively, I end up running nothing. I end up administering some contracts in Office 365, but from an infrastructure point of view, what's left? Network, I suppose.
Look, there is network, but to be honest, everyone's working from home, so they're really managing their own sort of networks in that respect. What you are looking at more broadly is how do I manage security across all these different applications? How do I manage authentication so that, let's say I've got 10 something as a service applications running. They're not all with local lists of users that I've got. And therefore, if someone leaves, I've got to go and log into 10 different applications and take that user out. And same with, if you start a new person, that you don't have to go and log into each application. And that they're all using a consistent authentication approach. Authorization is via either the same approach, the multi-factor authentication, or any other application that you're using for that. But it's how do we manage those environments more than the existence of those environments now?
So tell me that, in a way, people's first or second generation cloud environment is actually a bit complex at the moment. It needs to get down.
There's still a lot of history there, and there's a lot of cleaning up to do. And as we said earlier, just because you take a server and actually put it in the cloud doesn't really mean you've reaped the benefits of the cloud. You've just managed to successfully move a server from A to B.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what about the workforce, right? So we've got everyone's work from home. Everyone's learned how to use video conferencing. That's a big thing. It's people use cameras again now in a lot of cases. But there's more coming, right? There's augmented reality. There's artificial intelligence. There's a bunch of these digital transformation-y things. Organizations still need to reskill that workforce.
They do, and it's an ongoing thing. Just because we've now spent a lot of time on showing people how to use a VPN in some cases, or how to actually get themselves set up remotely, and we've managed to change business processes to work effectively with remote workers. That's great, but that's the enabler. That enables the future of where we're heading, with more efficient ways of doing things, more productive and creative approaches. How do we become more efficient now that everyone is remote? And there's a lot of things that are enabled there. But as you mentioned, some of the industry is looking at how do we use AI to be smarter and to run our business in different ways? What can we use with augmented reality, which is, we'll probably talk about augmented reality a bit separately, but VR was a good start, but it never really took off that much. I think the AR, the augmented reality part, is really where it's sort of starting to head at the moment, at least.
Yeah, certainly not as much here as I see it in the US. But to do any of these things, right, you need cloud.
You need cloud. You need processing capability, and you need systems that are built for these particular applications. You can't just say, I want to run this augmented reality system that's visually going to show my workers how to assemble the parts that they're showing to help them along. What do I need? I've got to put a server over there and run some software. No, some of these things are actually quite detailed, and it's whole levels of infrastructure that you would be crazy, and in some cases you can't really afford on your own to be able to do that.
Yes, you want to rent bits of it, right? And certainly we get a lot of that in AI or in ML, that you need this massive amount of compute power for a very short amount of time.
You do.
And then you don't need it anymore, and you don't want to pay for it forever.
No, that's just it. I mean, I looked at one of the election providers once about they provide services into the elections, and every 4 years they'd have a massive boost in their requirements. But then you said, well, what happens to the rest of the time? I said, well, it's not always in use. And okay, so how do you have a model that's cost effective in? You've got to find how to use those resources.
It used to be the same with the ticketing providers, right? They'd try and scale as much as they can, but suddenly when they got 3 concerts launching on the same day, they all crashed. Clouds fixed a lot of that. So that's one thing, it's digital transformation, and we've talked about that. But the key, if I was to pick the word of 2022, it's supply chain. Everybody is talking about supply chain.
Packages to be delivered. Yeah, and look, this, you will have seen delays in delivery and various things, and look, this is part of it that. You may be ordering a part online and look, it's taking a week to get here or something like that. Or it used to be overnight. Or you got used to something that was really efficient because all the other bits in the supply chain were operating correctly and were efficient at the same time. Now that those supply chain parts have started to have issues, be it, hey, we can't get drivers for our trucks because they're off, or hey, we can't do this, or hey, we're waiting for containers to be cleared, but there's no one to clear them, or whatever the issue is, that is now needing to be at a level of transparency so we can actually more accurately predict delays and timeframes and what's happening. And look, don't just tell me it's going to be here sometime between this week and next week, maybe. We need to be a lot more accurate in that. We need to be, we need to have a lot more shared data as to what's going on, and we need to be able to plan more predictably around what the likelihood is of these things happening. That's part of it. There's another part I've seen that is not so heavily brought up in the report, but it's security around the supply chain. And you sort of look at that and you think, oh, look, I'm not too concerned about my suppliers or whatever else. And so that may be the case. Maybe you're only a smaller company, and maybe by a smaller company, you've only got 500 people or something like that compared to the larger ones with 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever it is. But all of a sudden, the issue of your supply chains is an issue for them. They're looking at you as a supplier, and they're saying, you're part of my supply chain. How secure are you? Because I'm only as secure as the bits in my supply chain.
Yeah, and that's really important to think about is your customers will drop you like a hot potato if you start disrupting their supply chain.
They will, and all of a sudden you're out there rushing to, quick, get the security in place or get this compliance done and everything to meet these requirements really quickly.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. That's going to be painful. So the next thing I guess they're going to talk about is our workforce is changing.
It is, and it's we're looking at where did we come from with this? We've looked at how do we get to the next stage of our workforce. So we've sort of seen the whole thing. We've done all this work from home sort of side of things. How do we now create the efficient business process and systems that use that as a base, assuming in the future that, look, a lot of these business processes were not initially designed for, let's assume everybody works from home and connects into this data remotely. They're not actually in the room. So, okay, well, hang on. And we know a lot of Band-Aids and patches have been put on some of those processes in the last couple of years. And look, and I think people have done a really good job, mainly because they've had no choice and been forced into it. But if you were to go and rewrite or create from scratch a business process specifically designed for efficient remote work, would you do it the way your current process has morphed to at this point? No. And look, and this is the whole thing with IT infrastructure as a whole. You start a company with 10 people, and you just sort of put some PCs on desks and a bit of network and bang something together. And then you add 10 more people, and you put some more. Then you get another 50 people, and all of a sudden you've got 1,000 people, and it's all these little things that are connected together in the backbone. And you realise that's not really sustainable to run the business the size I've got now.
And you've now got you've got people working from home with different hardware and infrastructure and workstations and all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of things to think about there. But you're right. We want to get productivity. I think there's an opportunity to make productivity higher than it was in the office using a hybrid model.
There is, and we're seeing things now. Even like better meeting management.
Yes,
for example, making your meetings matter.
Yes, there we go.
There we go.
Absolutely.
There's
a project
we were talking about before.
That's soon to coming to market, but it's these types of products are appearing to make that stuff work and thinking of it from a remote work first, office last.
Exactly.
Yep. Cool. So the next thing that everybody cares about, maybe apart from the government. Oh no, that was way too political. Sustainability.
Well, this is actually.
When I grew up, in economics class, you were always taught that what we wanted was growth. And then in science, you learned that in a closed ecosystem, infinite growth can't happen, right? And you did all these symbiotic relationships where things would grow, and then we've hit our ceiling and they crash and that kind of stuff. And we see that now in markets, we see that now in energy, and we see individual groups of houses or companies or states going off and doing tons of renewable energy projects, even while central government is going, no, stick with legacy generation. So there really is a focus on sustainability, almost as opposed to growth now. And while everybody wants their businesses to grow, I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there just happy that their business has survived.
Well, and look, there was a surprising statistic that I saw the other day, and I haven't got the reference right here in front of me, but it was when you look at the annual reports of, say, the Fortune 100, I think it was, there was something like 80-something% had sections in their annual reports dedicated to sustainability and what they were doing to be the green company or the better towards the world at whatever it is they were doing, regardless of whatever industry they were in. And it's a bit of a sign saying that the stakeholders and shareholders are now saying, what are you doing? We're actually focusing on this. It's really important. What are you doing? And we're valuing you higher if you can show that you're actually green as a company.
Yep.
So that's interesting, because that's sort of come about very quickly. We've been talking about being green for a long time, but it's never had that sort of driver behind it to really make people sort of stand up and go, we better actually put some focus on this and do something, really.
But
and now we're starting to see it pushed down pretty hard,
It's really starting to do that, isn't it?
It is. And that level of, I don't think it's going to get to the point where like a little 5-person company in the back of somewhere is going to be asked for their environmental status report every week or something like that. But I think that regardless of whatever you're doing, you need to be more aware of the impact that could have on the environment. And it's not just for you, it's for your suppliers, because you're part of a supply chain and they may need that data. And all of a sudden, if you're not the greener provider, you may find yourself losing some opportunities to those that are more green or can show it at least. And it's an interesting scenario.
So now that's cool. So we talked about the focus on digital transformation. We've talked about taking cloud to the next level. We've talked about supply chains, the workforce, and sustainability. What can we round out the conversation with, Scott?
And this is the whole thing. The report's basically saying, look, there's a broader need to be more transparent, to be agile, to collaborate more with everybody in the supply chain, within your own business, to be sustainable as a business, and to also continue to innovate. And strangely enough, there you can see the companies that are sort of very focused on that, and to be doing each one of those well, you would be in that sort of like top 1% of reference companies that here's the shining example of what we're looking at. So don't get too worried if you're not right out there going, oh God, we haven't gotten very far in some of those. The point is, you're probably at the same level as most of the other people around you, but just realize that these are the areas that are growing. This is where the focus is, and make sure you're doing some things in these areas to improve your business overall.
Cool. That sounds awesome. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Nick.
A great review of that report, and thank you for watching and listening. Do remember, if you do like what you hear, leave us a subscribe, leave us a like, subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell. You can find us wherever you find good podcasts. You can find us on audible.com, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So leave us a comment if you'd like us to discuss something or talk about a topic you're thinking of. But that was brilliant. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Nick.
And
have a lovely day, everyone.
Have a fantastic day. Catch you later. Bye-bye.